Okay, so today we're going to do how are shapes decompose. This is a continuation of area of rectangles and area of parallelograms. So first of all, make sure your name is up here. I've been getting a lot of papers with no name, so make sure your name is up here. And let's start. It says, using the image below, describe how the rectangle and triangle are both similar and different. All right, so what do you notice about the rectangle and triangle? So what I know is that the rectangle and triangle are both the same height. They're both the same length. But it looks like the triangle is half of the rectangle. So that's one of the things we need to know. So a rectangle can always, box it in, be cut in half to produce two equal triangles. What they're saying is if I have a rectangle, any rectangle, I can cut it in half and I get two equal triangles. So if the formula for finding the area of a rectangle is base times height, how could you describe the formula for a triangle? So to find the formula for a rectangle, we do base times height. So if a triangle is half of that, that's our formula. We're going to do the area of a parallelogram or a rectangle, which is base times height. But because it's a triangle, we're going to divide by 2. And the reason why we're doing that is because a triangle is half of a rectangle or a parallelogram. So this is the area, the formula for area of a triangle. So let's find some areas. We want to label the base and height of the triangle and then use the information in the formula to find the area. Alright, so the base is the bottom. That's right here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the base is 5. I'm going to put it both places. The height is this part. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 7. This is 7. So to find the area of a parallelogram, or I'm sorry, the area of a triangle, remember it's half of a parallelogram. So we're going to do base times height. So I'm going to write the formula down. It's going to be base times height divided by 2. Now I'm just going to substitute numbers. My base is 5, so I have 5, times my height, which is 7, and I'm going to divide it by 2. So 5 times 7 is 35, divided by 2 is 17.5 square units. It's area, so it's still squares, but they didn't tell us what units, so we'll just leave it at 7.5. So let's do triangle number 2. The formula is base times height divided by 2. Write the formula down because that's how you remember it, is by writing it over and over again. Now we're going to plug in the numbers. My base is 14. My height is 16, sorry. And then we're going to divide that by 2. So 14 times 6 is 30. And 30 divided by, oh, I'm sorry, I added, I didn't multiply. Sorry about that, I messed that up. So 14 times 16 is 224 divided by 2. So when you do 224 divided by 2, you get 112, and they do give us units there. So this is inches, and because it's area, we're talking about squares, so squared. 112 inches squared. So let's do the next one. The formula is area equals base times height divided by 2. Always write that down, remember, that's how we remember. Now we're going to plug in our numbers. Our base is 3.5 times h, which is our height, which is 2. And then we're going to divide by 2. So in our calculator, we're going to do 3.5 times 2, and we get 7, divided by 2. So 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, and this gives us units, which is meters squared. If you forget this, it's going to be wrong. So you have to make sure you always put your units in there. It says, what do you notice about the height of each of the triangles? So what do you notice about the heights here? What I notice is the height is the tallest point. So think of a mountain. The tip top of the mountain is the height of the mountain. That's always the peak, which is the tallest point. So the height is always the tallest point of the triangle. Okay, so here's what we know so far. We know that a parallelogram has a formula of area equals base times height. We also know that a triangle has an area formula of base times height divided by 2. So now we're going to decompose, which means take apart, these trapezoids below to put them into familiar shapes. So if you look at these trapezoids, these are all trapezoids. How can you break them apart so you can get either parallelograms or triangles? So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can break these apart with lines to produce a parallelogram or a triangle. Okay, so if we cut this trapezoid into like familiar shapes, if I draw a line here and here, I have a triangle, triangle, rectangle. I know how to work with those, right? So if you look at this one, if I do it here, I now have a triangle and a rectangle. And if I go over here, I have 2 triangles and a rectangle. So triangle, rectangle, triangle, rectangle, triangle, triangle, rectangle, triangle. And I know how to find the area of each of these pieces because I did it right here. A parallelogram and a rectangle are the same formula. So a trapezoid is made up of, it's a rectangle and a triangle combined. So to make a trapezoid, you combine a rectangle and a triangle. Sometimes it's 2 triangles, sometimes it's 1. But when you put a rectangle and a triangle together, it makes a trapezoid. So let's find the area of these trapezoids by decomposing them. That means taking them apart into parts we know. So if you notice, we have a triangle here, and let's do this one. We have a triangle here, and then we have this rectangle. Alright, so let's find the area of the rectangle first. I'm going to draw a picture of my rectangle. What's the base of my rectangle? Is it 16 or 8? It's actually 8. 16 is the base of the whole shape. The base of my triangle is from here to here, which is 8 centimeters. And remember, to find the area of a rectangle, it's base times height. So the height of my rectangle is 6. So the area of the rectangle is 8 times 6, which is 48. So this is 48. So now we have to do our triangles. All right, we know from here to here, we know actually this whole line is 16, right? We know from here to here is 8. So how much is left over? If the whole thing is 16 and this much is 8, 16 minus 8 is 8, right? So we know this is 8. So how much are these worth? If we have 8 left, they're each worth 4. So if you add this up, 4 plus 8 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. So you kind of have to look at that bottom length there to figure out the bases of your triangles. So our triangles are exactly the same. We have a base times height divided by 2. So in this triangle, in both of them actually, our base is 4 times our height, which is 6, and then we're going to divide it by 2. So 4 times 6 is 24, divided by 2, which is 12. So each of these triangles has an area of 12. So now what we're going to do is add all those areas up. We have 48 plus 12 plus 12, and if you add those up, you get 72 centimeters squared. So hit pause and see if you can do this example on your own. Okay, so again, I have a trapezoid, and a trapezoid is made up of a rectangle and a triangle. So the formula for area of a rectangle is base times height, and a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Alright, so let's do my triangle first. Your base is just this part right here, and that's 10. 13 is the whole bottom, but we're looking at just the rectangle part. So it's 10 times my height, which is 8. So 10 times 8 is 80. So the rectangle has an area of 80. So now we have to find the triangle. We know it has a height of 8. And what's this measurement right here? The whole thing is 13, right? So this whole bottom has to add up to 13. We know from here to here is 10, because the top is 10, right? So 10 plus what would give me 13? 3. So now if you add all these up, 10 plus 3, that's 13. So the base of just the triangle part is 3. So my base is 3 times my height is 8 divided by 2, because that's how you find the area of a triangle. 3 times 8 is 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So this triangle has an area of 12. So we're going to do 80 plus 12, and we get 92 inches squared. So that's one way to find the area of a trapezoid. There is a formula, just like these. That's a little bit easier, I think. So the formula is base 1 plus base 2. So you're going to add those together. You're going to multiply it by the height, and then you're going to divide by 2. That's the formula. So we're going to plug in numbers now. Base 1 is the bottom, is 12, plus base 2, which is this one, the top, which is 7. We're going to multiply that by our height, which is 4, and then we're going to divide by 2. So 12 plus 7 is 19 times 4 divided by 2. So let's do 19 times 4, which is 76, divided by 2, which is 38. So the area of this trapezoid is 38 inches squared. Now, if you didn't want to use the formula, I recommend using it because I think it's a lot quicker. You could have decomposed this into 2 triangles and a rectangle, okay? But you didn't have to. So using the formula, I think, is easier. The formula is B1 plus B2, so the tops and the bottoms you add together. You multiply it by the height, and then you divide by 2. Okay, so when it says summarize today's lesson, I want to write down all the formulas we know. We know a rectangle is area equals length times width. That's the same as a parallelogram, which is what? Area equals base times height. We learned at the beginning of this lesson that a triangle is area equals base times height divided by 2. And then we just learned a trapezoid is area equals base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. Okay, you'll need all 3 of those formulas today to work on your homework. So let's do a couple of homework examples. All right, it says match each correct answer to a letter and complete the riddle below. Find the area of a right triangle with a height of 8 feet and a base of 15 feet. So draw a picture. The height is 8 feet and a base of 15 feet. So let's go back to our notes. We have a triangle, so I'm going to use this formula. So you always write the formula down. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Now we just substitute letters in. Our base is 15 times our height, which is 8, divided by 2. So in our calculator, we're going to do 15 times 8, which gives us 120. Then we're going to divide it by 2. And that gives us an answer of 60. And we're talking about feet here, because it says it in my problem. Feet squared. So in the bottom, where it says 60 feet squared, that's letter H. So number 1 gets letter H at the bottom. And that's how you're going to do the rest of those. You have to figure out whether they're talking about a triangle or a trapezoid, and then solve the problem. Go to the back of